The spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Welcome everyone, Kyle here, and welcome back to the channel. As in today's video, we're breaking down the brand new WWE Mattel crowdfunding. I'm going to give all the details of what we get here, and I'm going to give you some of my opinions along the way, and I want to hear from you guys in the comments as well, so don't forget that. But let's break it down. Let's talk everything we know. Looks like March 29th. I'm filming this on Monday, March 27th. This was the day this crowdfunder was announced. The 29th, it will go up for sale. That is Wednesday of this current week, if you're watching in date, time, synchronicity, I guess we'll call it here. And it will run through May 5th. There is an early backer bonus. If this funds at 5,000, we need 5,000 backers to get this thing funded. If we hit that by the 7th of April, there will be a bonus Hulk Hogan figure. We're going to talk about that in a little bit here. But let's start off. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of what's included here, let's talk about some of my predictions. As I talked about, the new Gen Arena was the last crowdfunder. My guess was it was going to be an Outsiders Hulk Hogan, maybe Mean Gene, 3-4 pack of Ultimates. Obviously, at that time, we didn't know what kind of scale we were dealing with here. So they did blow us away that with the new Gen Arena. Now, this time, a lot of people, myself included, thought it was going to be a 2-in-1 arena, Raw and Nitro. They talked about the Monday Night Wars. Makes all the sense. And I do think that might be a little bit of a missed opportunity, but we'll talk about it here. But it obviously is not Raw and Nitro. We're just taking a look at Nitro and Nitro only here. So it's an interesting dynamic here, and one we'll talk about more in this video as well. But I definitely thought it was going to be a 2-in-1 stage. Not the case here, at least as of the time being, unless something changes down the line. We talked about some Ultimates that I thought would be included from both brands, both sides of the fence. Obviously, I'm no clairvoyant this time, because we knew a lot of WCW, DDP, Scott Steiner, Hogan. It pretty much writes itself. Obviously, the NWO, Hall and Nash were not a part of this, at least for now, and you never know what might happen. But very easy to kind of guess some of the players that would be in there, and I think a lot of people had those same people on their list there. But let's break it down. Let's talk about what we get. We got to go through all this stuff, talk about it, and I'll get it straight from the copy here from Mattel. We get the WWE Ultimate Edition WCW Monday Nitro entrance stage. 20.5 inches tall, 40 inches deep, 20 inches, 31 inches with ramp lengthwise there. You get an authentically scaled to all WWE Elite and Ultimate Edition figures. Don't forget the basics. Don't forget those guys. Entrance tunnel lit by over 100 LEDs with 6 pre-programmed animated sequences controlled by a remote. How about that? 4 sets of adjustable can lights for different lighting angles. Entrance tunnel featuring 2 authentic Monday Nitro signs. 2 premium fabric WCW Monday Nitro banners, authentically scaled and textured WCW letter boxes. Those are those big boxes around the kind of corners of each part of the stage. You get a realistic metallic colored grating on stage and ramp, removable and repositionable entrance ramp. That's going to be key to be able to take that away to save yourself some space, because space is going to be an issue, and we'll talk about that as well. Bonus features, of course, with the all figures and all that. We'll dive into the figures. This iconic collection is a love letter to fans of the classic Monday Night Wars, so join today and be a part of Monday Night history. Don't forget to share the crowdfund with your fellow WWE fanatics. Help bring the WCW Monday Nitro entrance stage to life. So I guess that's what I'm doing. I'm sharing this video, and I'm sure maybe somebody will find this for the first time. But that's the thing Mattel's doing. They're hoping the crowd support, because there's not going to be TV commercials. There's not going to be a big TV advertising campaign around this kind of thing. This is kind of the ground, boots on the street, word of mouth kind of advertising. So obviously they're going to reach out to their fan base, say, hey, tell a friend, basically, because there's a lot of lapsed fans, people that are ancillary collectors, not collectors at all anymore, but maybe they loved WCW back in the day. It's a way to get the word out. So Mattel asking us to help them out a little bit in a lot of ways there, which I guess you do the same thing if you're a big business like that. But it does talk about all the stuff we get. But then we get into the figures here. Now, 5,000 backers is the minimal amount to get this thing funded. So we got to get to 5,000 if we want anything involved here. But at 5,000 backers, you do get Rey Mysterio. Junior? He's junior back then to me. But you do get a Rey Mysterio Ultimate Edition figure at 5,000. It sounds like he will come with a robe, extra heads, and hands. That's all he comes with there. So that'll be interesting. Now that's 5,000 backers, so that's the minimum amount. So basically he's there no matter what. And it's interesting because we do know a Rey Mysterio Ultimate Edition is coming in the Walmart line too. So are we going to get a lot of reuse there? We're going to see some new tooling, anything new here outside of maybe the robe. It'll be interesting. If they already have that mold, they're getting the most of their molds once again right here. And very fitting that we didn't see pictures of that Rey Mysterio outside of renders. Probably wanted to save that for what we saw here with this Rey Mysterio. So interesting one. Obviously, Rey Mysterio going to the Hall of Fame. Rey Mysterio, one of the most popular performers of all time. Some might even call him the Gamote, as we do know. But then we turn our attention to 7,000 backers. So this is one that was pretty much common. A lot of us guessed would be a part of it. It is the Ultimate Edition, Diamond Dallas Page. Diamond Dallas Page, when you think of WCW, I'd say he was one of the corner post members of WCW that wasn't in the NWO. With him, you do get a vest, mic, head, and hands. So no rib tape with him, and I will talk about some of these ones that I feel like what they might really needed later on in this video. But we do get that for DDP. Then you turn our attention to 9,000, and this is a big one because if you remember the New Generation Arena, that backed right a little shy of 9,000. So this is a true test stepping up here. The price point we haven't even discussed, and we'll talk about that, a little comparisons between the two, but 9,000 backers, you're going to get Big Papa Pump. You're going to get Scott Steiner. Now, Scott Steiner's going to come with sunglasses, heads, hands, and a U.S. title belt. So this isn't quite Big Papa Pump, heyday, chainmail, walking the tiger. Not quite there. This is almost right when he first broke off from Rick Steiner. That kind of era when he was U.S. champion. The Steiner screwdriver was his finisher at the time. A really good addition to Scott Steiner, but not the most iconic world champion Scott Steiner, I think. And you know that'll be coming eventually. There's no doubt in my mind there. So we do get that at 9. And then the true stretch goal, and we're calling the power of the Warriors in on this one. My gut says this is going to be a tough one, but we'll see, and we'll talk about it more later. But we are going to get the Ultimate Warrior. He's going to come with a duster, heads, hands, and a WCW microphone, but that's the 11K backers. That's a big one because we got 9,000 backers last time on the New Gen Arena, 250 to 300, depending, I guess, on your dollars or wherever you're from. They're looking for $400 on this one. So you're paying an extra $150. Will there be enough people to step up at $150 more price point then to get us another 2,000 people on top of that? That's going to be a very tough goal, and I do really feel that's going to come down to the wire. But let's dive into some of this stuff here. So that's kind of what we get. That's what we get as of right now. Now, there's always the possibility they might throw something else in. Remember the Macho Man last time. Of course, he was the early bird backer system like we got Hogan. So they came out right off the bat, told us Hogan is that, and that makes a lot of sense. Hogan, very popular, of course. Want to get the word out, want everybody to get the Hulkster. It makes a lot of sense just because of the popularity of Hulk Hogan. And before he was NWO, he was WCW, of course. We're getting the debut attire, all that kind of stuff. It does truly make a lot of sense to me to throw him in early because he is a huge name and you're going to get extra eyes to something like that. Personally, I wish they could have flipped Hogan and Warrior so I'd be guaranteed that Warrior, but that's just me personally. And other Warrior maniacs out there like myself, of course. But they're looking at everything. We got to get 5,000 backers by 4/7 to get that Hogan involved. And I do think that will happen. I really do think we'll get the Hulk Hogan guaranteed. And then with that comes the Rey Mysterio and unlocks the project. Now, some of these Ultimates after that might get a little bit difficult here. Now, when you think back to the last New Gen Arena, you got a ring. Obviously, there's no ring included with this one. It's all about the stage. But you did get Doink, Diesel, and Macho Man. So you got 3. This time you're getting Rey, DDP, Hogan, Steiner, and Warrior. I mean, that's a lot of Ultimates right there. And you think of Ultimates at $33, $34 a pop, depending, somewhere around there with taxes and everything. You're getting a lot more Ultimate figures here. And to me, that is what sells me on these crowdfunding is the figures more than the stage. I know there's people, you think both ways. Some want both, some want one or the other. The stage is nice, but it's going to be very difficult for a lot of collectors to have room for that kind of stuff. But I truly do think at $400 level, we'll get Rey. I think we're going to get Hogan, and obviously get the stage and all the bells and whistles with that. We'll just see how that ends up shaking out. But I do feel that will easily back. And we've said it all along. I've said it last year when we first talked about crowdfunding. And I gave a plea video, or I don't even know if it was a plea video, but it was me breaking down the video about Diesel Doink and what all came with it. breaking it down. And the one thing I was screaming at is this is the time of the year to do something like this. Wrestling, all-time fandom, WrestleMania season brings the most people, most eyes to the business this time of year. That makes a lot of sense. You get even more eyes on your crowdfunding effort with that going on. You're not up against San Diego Comic-Con like they did last time. Probably the worst time outside of like Christmas season to do a crowdfunding item. Everybody's got a million exclusives they're going for. It's the height of summer vacation season. This is truly the best time of the year in March, April timeframe. Then on top of that, for some people that get refunds from the tax man, it's an easy tax return. Oh, I got $2,000 coming back from the tax man or whatever it is. I can put $400 towards this. There's no doubt about it. So I think that works out really good to where they're playing. So I think they got the time of the year right. The only question is, okay, $250 compared to $400. Is that extra $150 there in perceived value to the consumer? One thing that is a big part of this is inflation, and a lot of things are down. Sales are down across the board pretty much everywhere. Units are definitely down everywhere. Food, you name it. People aren't buying as much. They're making do with less on a lot of things right now. So it might be a tough time to ask a $400 price point. Obviously, inflation's part of that. Some of the costs are different than new gen. It's not quite apples to apples as we do know. But it is going to be very interesting to see how the fan base reacts and how the buyers, and they vote with their wallet, as we always do say, how they're going to react to something like this for that time frame. But I guess let me break down of the figures here. Hogan at 5K, I want to talk about what I feel is missing from these. And one thing I want to know, and I don't think I've seen the answer yet, I'm sure we will find out about it. I hope these Ultimate Editions come in true Ultimate Edition packaging. If they come in the Kane-like packaging with that ring, that's going to be a really tough sell for a lot of people. I, of course, being a completionist of the Ultimate line, a loose and mint on card, it's forcing me, and I guess nobody's forcing me. That's a bad word language there. But I'm going to need to buy 2 of these sets. That's $800 in one fell swoop. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money all at once. Nobody's forcing me to buy it, but if I want to upkeep my collection like that, I'm going to need that, and I hope they do go with the traditional Ultimate Edition styling boxes. Because that's what I would say. If they did a poll, I think it would be like 99.9% of people would say, give me the traditional Ultimate boxes. Don't give me that Kane-style box. I'm pretty sure everybody agrees with that. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But Hogan, he's going to come with the bells and whistles, all that kind of stuff. I do think the Hulkster will do okay. He will bring extra eyes to this opportunity of the crowdfunding. He always does. I think it makes sense, and it's a soft victory. Get everybody back to Hogan because they wanted Hogan. It's an easy layup for the fan base. It's some goodwill, and it gets the momentum rolling on the whole project. So I think that is a good move by the Mattel team. Like I said, I wish it was Warrior and Hogan switched, but there's only a few of us probably out there, or maybe 50-50, maybe. But Rey Mysterio, another good one. We think of him in WCW. That's where the majority of the world came to know Rey Mysterio. I really do think we needed the WCW Cruiserweight belt with him, a belt of some kind. These are supposed to be the Ultimate Editions. This is supposed to be the perfect Rey Mysterio. And without that belt, I don't know. That's a little bit of a miss, I think, if you ask me. Now, DDP is another one here. Another guy, WCW. We think of WCW. I really do feel we get his vest, but we really need the WCW title belt with him. It's the Ultimate Edition. Let's throw those bells and whistles in there. I would also like to see the rib tape. I would love to see removable rib tape. Now, we've seen that with Damian Priest, a few other wrestlers over the years. Maybe they can refit that, reuse that, just that way, because that is a very iconic story arc of DDP. A lot of people, when they close their eyes at night before they go to bed, like most people do, they think of DDP. But a lot of them think of him in the rib taped up there. So that is something I think is an easy throw in. Scott Steiner, of course, give me the Tiger. Yeah, give me a Tiger with him. Now, it's not quite that era of Scott Steiner, so I'm not sure exactly what else you would have with this. Did he wear a leather jacket around this time as well? But it's an interesting version of Scott Steiner, but I'm here for this one, and I think this will be a very popular one. I see a new body mold with some big old arms on Scott Steiner here as well, so that is really cool. And then Warrior at 11,000, obviously they're giving him a duster. That's going to look really good. The jeans, this is going to look a lot like that Jakks Classic Superstar really limited edition Warrior one from back in the day, so I'm here for this. Obviously, I'm here for anything Warrior. It's just going to be really tough at 11K stretch goal for that Ultimate Warrior. I don't know if it's going to quite make that. Obviously, I'm going to do my part on that one because I want the Warrior, but man, I really wish he was down there farther down the line. But it kind of makes sense. You make the easy, lofty layup in the Hulkster. You get the Ultimate Warrior on the back end. Kind of two pillars of huge fandoms out there. So you got both kind of ends of the spectrum. I just don't know if there's enough power to get people to get to 11,000. Like we said, the new generation arena went just a little shy of 9,000. They're looking for 11 this time. So there is a difference there, and then that price point difference. Now, a little difference between the two, I was going to say WCW Monday Nitro is a little bit niche. But honestly, you take that business step back, we take that personal step back, I would say the new generation area I would say the new generation era is more niche than the WCW Monday Nitro era. Obviously, Nitro had bigger stars, more TV ratings, more people that came to watch wrestling that weren't wrestling fans. If you were watching in the new gen era, that was a true downtime in wrestling. That's almost more for the hardcore of hardcore fan bases. And let's be honest, you put up Doink, Diesel, and Macho, three big names, three decent-sized names, obviously. But Ray, DDP, Hogan, Warrior, Steiner, there's no doubt those names are way bigger than the last three. Obviously, Macho, you can make some arguments there, but taking the WCW side and the new gen side, WCW side's a landslide victory there. So there is ups and downs and caveats, but I was thinking at first, Nitro, very niche, very niche. Not really that niche. It's not. It had the biggest time of fandom for wrestling ever. So there's technically people that maybe were WCW fans that said, I'm done with wrestling after WCW, that might jump into this because, hey, the nostalgia factor's there. I want WCW represented in my business office or something like that, whatever it may be. So at first I thought it was niche. Maybe it's not so niche after all. It is obviously a huge boom period. But I do think if you could have somehow made a Raw 2-in-1 stage like I originally thought, you would get even more people involved in this. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of fan bases that said, I was not a WCW guy, or I came in later and I didn't watch WCW. I'm only WWE. Whatever that excuse may be or reasoning may be. So you are going to turn off some collectors. I'm sure there's people watching this right now that said, oh, I was really excited for this, but WCW isn't my thing. I was just never a WCW guy. I'm not spending $400 for something for WCW. But at the same token, could have had the same thing with somebody for Raw saying, well, Raw wasn't my thing. I was a WCW person. I'm not going to support the Raw thing. So it might even each other out there, but it's an interesting deal right there. But one thing for certain here, I know no doubt here is I think there will be less buyers than the last one. I really do think, I think 9,000 will be a stretch. I'm hoping Scott Steiner gets people over the hump there, but I do think that a lot of people last time, myself included, people bought 2 or 3 of these to support it and thinking, oh, I'm going to make all this money on the back end. That just doesn't really happen. Very rarely does that happen. That happens in crowdfunders that started for the first time ever, like the Sail Barge. Nobody really knew what they were getting themselves into. Then it skyrocketed in price, and maybe even the Sentinel a little bit. But Galactus, a lot of these other things, you can get fairly reasonable price points on these, and you don't have to have people sitting on your money for a year plus. So I don't know if the value is going to be there. There'll always be value in this kind of stuff. I think if you ordered 2, you should for sure be able to get your money back. Maybe an extra $100 or something, but if you think you're going to make $1,000 on this kind of thing, that's just not in the cards. Maybe 50 years from now, possibly. I don't know. But I don't think there's going to be as many people using this as an investment because times are a little tougher now and it's $400 price point. Are people going to buy 4 or 5 of these things? I just don't think that's going to happen. So that's going to hurt total numbers because those people that were buying 2 and 3 last time, they're out of the fence. They're only buying 1 or possibly none. That's going to hurt those total numbers. So we got to think about that. One huge miss here is you can't really have a stage, and I guess you can, and that's what they're doing, but you don't have a WCW ring. You need a WCW ring to go along with this, and I'm glad there's not a ring because the ring obviously would jump that price point, but it makes that Attitude Era Kane just seem that much more strange. I mean, it really felt like they were going towards a Hell in a Cell or something like that, so you'd have that ring to be involved with whatever this was going to be. It almost felt like they should have had a WCW Outsiders ring before, and then you could pair these two together. Have that up just forever on Mattel Creations, or 6 months, 8 months, whatever, kind of like the Kane ring. Have it up there. Anybody can grab it if they want it or need it, and you get those ultimates of Scott Hall and Kevin Nash with the WCW ring would pair perfectly with this. Who knows? Maybe that's an opportunity down the line, but I really feel you need some kind of ring to go along with this. Where's that ramp leading to? Oh, it's leading to my new gen ring. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I'm hopeful maybe they throw in some ring skirts, some ring mats, some posts, some pillars, something like that at the minimum. If not, sell us a whole ring separately. But I really do think they should throw in some ring stuff. For the people that backed the new gen, bought that Kane ring, they could transform their ring to a WCW ring, because you're kind of left holding the bag waiting for that other foot to drop, and who knows if that one will. So that's a little bit peculiar right there, because you really need a ring with this. I just really do. But obviously that's even more room to take up. But still, you need some kind of WCW ring included in this. So I do look for that to come down the line. Hopefully a part of this, or maybe separate. Hey, Mattel, use that idea. I think a lot of people would be happy with a Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, WCW ring, debut appearance with the Ultimate Editions. I think that would sell very well. And you'd even get people that didn't buy this stage that would buy that as well. So maybe in the future that's a possibility. But it's going to be really interesting how this whole thing nets out. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of social media clamoring, talk, comments, things like that. There's going to be people trying to pressure people into buying it. There's going to be all the stuff we saw last time, but maybe even more vocal as more people have entered the space. More people are going to have opinions on this. And at the end of the day, you just got to do what's right for you. If that means passing, if that means picking up one, that's what you got to do. Don't go into debt. Don't do anything crazy on something like this. But it is a pretty good value when you break it down, especially these being limited edition Ultimates. Like I said, I hope they're in traditional Ultimate packaging, but we got some heavy hitter figures here. And that stage is no slouch. I mean, all these LED lights and all this kind of stuff, a lot of bells and whistles to this thing. Now, for me, that doesn't do a lot, because, yeah, I turn them on with my remote maybe once or twice, but 99.9% of the time, that thing's just going to be sitting there. No lights going, nothing going. It's going to be great for toy figure photographers. Man, if I was a kid playing still to this day, who knows? Maybe this summer I'll decide it's time to start playing again. I don't know if that's going to happen, but if I was playing with my action figures like I did when I was a kid, I mean, this thing would just be, Kyle's never leaving his room again. He's going to be playing with this all the time. That's what it would have been. My parents would have to pry me out of my room to even eat, because this would be so cool to have. I can just imagine having guys wrestling on the stage, getting thrown off the stage, seeing stuff like that. Just all-time game changer if you're a player or a fig photographer. So those people are going to get the most enjoyment out of this. But somebody like me that sits it on there in display, I'll get my enjoyment, but I'm not going to be running through those lights. I'm not going to be burning those LED lights out anytime soon. That's me right there. But really, really cool. I really hope for the Ultimate Warrior. I really do think it's going to get close to 9K. I think Scott Steiner's got enough name and enough clout, and enough people have been hankering for some Scott Steiners. Now, the verdict is out if this is the Scott Steiner they're looking it to be. And this goes back to the thing I said all along with this. They're never going to give you the defining Scott Steiner in this. They're not going to give you the defining DDP and Ray, because this isn't for everybody. This is a crowdfunder. It's a bit of a niche item. It's for the online community. It's not sold in stores. They know that the best edition of Scott Steiner, whether that's Chainmail or Steiner Brothers, they got to put that out to retail, because that's going to make them a lot more money than this version of early heel turn Scott Steiner is going to make. Still cool at the end of the day. Still cool to see a Scott Steiner Ultimate, but you do know we're going to get the most out of our molds. We're going to see that body reused. We're going to see more out of that in the future. But it'll be really interesting if there's enough Scott Steiner Maniacs out there. We'll call you Maniacs. We're going to join in with the Hulk Maniacs, the Warrior Maniacs, and the Steiner Maniacs to bring that to 9,000. My gut does feel like it's going to hit close to 9,000, whether it'll get over that hump or not, but that's my first thought. I just don't know if 11,000 is possible, and that just really sucks for me, because I want the Warrior the most of anything here. But that's a lot of money. It's a tough economy right now, and it's a tough stretch goal. So we'll see. I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping they hit 15,000, something like that. I'd like to see things like this succeed, and I'd like to see what this snowballs into. How much bigger can we get next time? What can we go to next time? But as we always say, you got to vote with your wallet. That's the best way to let these companies know what you want and don't want, is voting with your wallet. So if you're not happy with this, you don't want it, guess what? Don't support it. If you're all in on this thing, go all in, go balls to the wall, pick yourself up a Nitro Arena. It should be a really fun play set at the end of the day. We've never seen anything quite like this ever before. And for somebody like me, the Ultimates sell it the most, and I'm sure some of you guys are in that same boat as well. But like I keep saying, the space is going to be a killer for a lot of people. There's not a lot of people that have room to devote for space like this, but man, oh man, would it look cool. I think all of our wheels are burning and turning. Like, what would we do if we were a kid with something like this? Or if you're a kid now, what you're going to do with this right now? But very cool, very awesome, very off the wall. It wasn't quite what I expected, but also some lines of what I did expect is what, and I'm sure a lot of people have that same kind of thought there. But it'll be interesting. Once again, March 29th pre-orders start, May 5th pre-orders end. If you're even on the fence about ordering it, if you're just, I would make sure you order by the 7th of April. Let's get Hogan out of the way. Let's get this thing backed and then see where it goes from there. Really hope we see DDP. Hopefully we see Scott Steiner. I really hope we see Warrior. I just think it might be a tough stretch. But we're definitely going to see Ray. We're definitely going to see Hogan. I do think we'll see DDP. Steiner's going to be a bubble one. And Warrior I just don't think is going to happen. But I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping I'm wrong. We'll see where it goes. And I will be at WrestleMania this year. I would assume at the WrestleMania Superstar they will have this set up. So I'll see this firsthand. Might change some opinions. We'll see what happens. I'm buying it. You guys know I'm buying 2. I will pre-order 2 of these in all clarity or whatever you want to call it. But I'm definitely buying 2. I'm keeping my collection going. But I can't wait to see this in person. Hopefully it blows me more away than even the pictures. And the pictures look really good. They did a good job with this. So a little bit of rambling in this video. Just some early quick thoughts. I'm sure we'll be talking about this the next few weeks and months on weekly purchases and toy news videos here on the channel. So stay tuned for those. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you leave me a comment with your thoughts. You picking it up, you passing. What Ultimate are you most excited for, and what is your total? What is your guess? Do you think it'll hit 11? Do you think it'll hit 5, 7, 9, 8? Let me know in the comments down below. Of course, don't forget to like this video. And don't forget about checking out the Patreon for early access to videos, all extra kinds of bonus content, and best of all, you do support the channel and all of its content. Same thing with Pro Wrestling Tees. Support the channel, pick up a t-shirt, and then don't forget to hit me up and follow along on social media. SirPaul64 on Twitter, Instagram, _Kyle_Peterson. So for the WCW Stage Crowdfunder, I am Kyle. See you guys all real soon.